maybe start thinking about, okay, what are some of my skill sets that I have in this other area of a career that I can apply to this new career or this new business? Because there may be a lot more things that you can take with you. And even if it's something, if you're a stay at home mom and then you're going to go start a career again, that you have skill sets that you're probably not even aware of. And so focusing on those things, okay, these are the things that I'm good at. These are the things that I've achieved. How can I make these happen in this other career path? And then it seems a little less scary.
Welcome to Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, your dedicated source for mastering B2B social media marketing challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Galton, and in each episode, we dive deep into the complex world of B2B marketing, from effective content creation to strategic social selling, sharing insights and strategies you can use right away. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast B2B Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing professionals like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling organizations like yours. Now, are you considering a major career change but unsure how to leverage your existing skills in a new field? Today's guest knows exactly what that's like. After spending years as a successful civil environmental engineer in Denver, Bretta Provost found herself at a crossroads when faced with potential layoffs. Instead of staying the course, she chose to completely reinvent her career path. Today, Bretta is the founder of Front ROI Marketing, where she helps businesses optimize the digital presence and marketing systems for growth. Her journey from engineering to entrepreneurship demonstrates how technical expertise can translate into business success, and she's helped countless others leverage their own skills in new ways. With over 300 Facebook Lives under her belt and a thriving digital marketing agency, Bretta brings practical insights on how to successfully pivot from a technical career into entrepreneurship. Hey, Bretta, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm blushing over here with that lovely introduction.
Well, I appreciate that, but like I tell folks all the time, you did all the hard work to get to where you're at today. I'm just reading your accolades, but I appreciate that. I appreciate your time coming on the show today. I wonder if you could start by just kind of walking us through that career transition from engineering to marketing.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a different story to come from engineering into marketing. I will say, so as engineers, we are a special breed. If you've ever met any of us, you know that this is true. I'm actually married to an engineer. And I will say that I've always been a people person as an engineer. So in engineering, I did end up being in business development and marketing part of it and project management. So I've always enjoyed having the introvert aspect where you're doing problem solving, and then the other portion of that where you are interacting with people and doing different teams and activities. And so I did that for, close to 10 years, full time, full force in Denver. As you mentioned, one of the companies I was with, got bought out. There were threats of right sizing, downsizing, layoffs. I ended up in the digital space and I had an online health and wellness business. So that gave me an introduction to the online world. That's kind of when social media is starting to explode. Facebook, everything that we now know as just everyday life started to be about, and had a very successful career on the side while I was building up that business and using just organic social media through Facebook. Now, it's kind of a totally different world than then. I don't know if you could duplicate it today with social media, but I got a lot of that experience and then ended up rekindled a college romance with my now husband. And then we moved, well, from Denver to Coeur d'Alene. We actually ran a hotel here in downtown Coeur d'Alene for 11 years and was doing some of the marketing. So I had left behind the engineering part of it in Denver. We were running the hotel together and we did that for 11 years. And I had helped with a lot of the marketing and the business development. And then a portion of that, he ran the business. Then we had babies and I stayed at home. And then I went back and helped run the business. We took turns running the hotel. And then one of his best friends actually reached out to me, and he has a very successful, it's called Tray and Creative here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. A lot of people have heard of it. Very successful branding company. And we actually started for ROI marketing together. And then when his business took kind of a different shift, he started going more from working with businesses into working with the tribal community, so Native Americans, and so he's kinda shifted to do that, and then here we are, years later, lots of ups and downs, lots of, different excitement, as we know for anyone who's an entrepreneur. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride, sometimes not for the faint of heart, and to have a new incredible business partner, Mallory Shields. And, things, it's definitely when you hit that 5 year mark, I think for any business, that 3 to 5 year mark, some of the magic starts to happen.
That's awesome. I was relating that because I went to Ohio State for college, and it was a late decision for me to go to Ohio State. And I was going there for music and politics, which was really strange. And I did not study one of those majors. But because it was a late decision, I got thrown onto a uh, a floor filled with engineers on the North Campus in Ohio State. I
I'm
was the only
sorry.
non-engineer. It was interesting. Made some good friends, made some good enemies. It was fun, but I hadn't really thought about it until just now. But since you brought it up, and it made me remember that fact, because I was on that floor with those engineers in 1992, I was with the people I need to be with when the internet was literally born. Because these guys had computers. So all of a sudden I'm on CompuServe and AOL, and I've got an Ohio State EDU email address, which I would not have had I been living with a bunch of musicians in South Campus, guaranteed that. So that actually started my career trajectory. But let's get back to you because that was a really interesting path that you just talked about. What were some of the initial challenges that you faced at the point of starting a marketing agency?
Well, I think one of the things that engineering teaches you is to be a problem solver. So that's a lot of the challenging part of school is that, okay, I'm faced with whatever the situation is. What are my knowns? What are my unknowns? What do I need to do to figure out the problem? And I think a lot of marketing, especially nowadays, I swear sometimes half of it is I feel like I'm an IT person trying to fix programs and, whatever's not working. It's like, okay, here, reload your app and do this. So I think taking some of those skills and thinking about it in that direction where, all right, we have some kind of issue that we're trying to solve, and we can solve some of that through marketing. And there's a good part of it that is somewhat technical. So it's, creative on the one hand and then technical on the other hand.
Got it, got it. So what were some of the key strategies that you used early on to grow? Because you talked about how you're now in 3 to 5 years in to this agency, and you're absolutely right. That is a bit of a milestone. A lot of agencies don't last that long. So it's impressive. Kudos to you. What were some of those early strategies that you used?
I think putting a lot of systems in place, I think that's one of the things that a lot of business owners, when it comes to social media, most business owners, and I've been there, I've done it. I'm sure we all have as a business owner where you get to the end of the day and you think, gosh, I haven't posted anything. I really need to post something today because I know I need to be on social media, but what am I going to post? So getting these business owners to realize, okay, we need to plan, we need to come up with a system so that we know what we're going to be doing ahead of time so that you can keep that consistency, that messaging, that branding. So that's a lot of the part that I think carried over in helping to create that consistency. And then just being really, one of the things you can see, I like your chief storyteller, chief integrity officer here, is that being really, really honest with people about the expectations because I feel like a lot of marketing companies sometimes we hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I've been burned by this other marketing companies because they promised X, Y, and Z and then they didn't do it." So that's a lot of what in the beginning and then continuing on with that, being very, very honest with people about what's gonna be effective and what's not. And, for example, let's say doing ads, we tell everyone, you really need to be running your ads for 3 to 6 months before you, especially if you've never done any ads before, in order for things to be effective. The same thing for next social media. You've got to be doing these things consistently over time. And the people that have been the most successful that we've seen throughout our history here as for ROI marketing is the people that have been super, super consistent with all their channels, meaning they're emailing, they're running the ads, they're doing social media, and keeping up with everything.
Yeah, I absolutely could not agree more. No, it's interesting because I'm gonna have a conversation in just a few days with an agency owner who kind of accidentally became an agency owner. The whole conversation is going to be around this idea where many of us are freelancing, doing odd jobs here and there for marketing. And then eventually we've got so much work that we need to hire somebody and then we need to hire somebody else. And all of a sudden, before we know it, were an agency owner, but they were already making a name for themselves. They were already developing that personal brand where I kind of feel like that wasn't the case with you. What role do you think then that personal branding played while you were establishing yourself in this field?
I think the reason that Ben initially came and chatted with me is that I was doing a lot on my personal social media. I have to I have to tell the truth right now and tell you that I'm not so great at it now since I do it for everybody else. Now it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be posting on my own social media and doing my own thing." I used to be a lot better about it, like I said, doing all those Facebook lives, and as far as my own personal social media, it was a little bit more sporadic, but once starting the business, but just that I really embraced social media when it first started coming out, and when I had built that online business, I was posting all the time, and I said, "Okay," told my husband, "I'm making my Facebook page public, so it's everybody can see it," and then grew the Facebook page, which I would still say is where a lot of the connections and, like, my social media platform still, even though I'm on a lot of other ones that enjoy Facebook and LinkedIn, some of the best, and to being growing that to have, I think I may have like 6,000 followers. So it's like a little micro influencer, but took that, and when I first moved to Coeur d'Alene, because I didn't know anyone here and had a big network when I moved from Denver, is like, I'm gonna, start friending people and getting to know people and go to networking groups and get to know people in the local area and then support that with social media.
Awesome, awesome. So it's about building relationships, whether online or in person. Love that. Could not agree more. Folks, we're talking with Bretta Provost about changing careers and even industries. In a moment, she's going to share some critical advice for you. But before we get to that, Jay Bear has some advice he'd like to share.
Hey friends, this is Jay Bear, founder of Convince and Convert, and I want to take just a minute to tell you why I love Agora Pulse. Now look, there's a ton of social media management tools out there, but Agora Pulse has some really special features that my team and I really appreciate. I want to tell you about those. Now first, the mobile app for Agora Pulse is really solid. I travel like 200 days a year, so the ability to check all of my social media accounts from an airport or wherever else I happen to be is a huge plus. Also, you have the ability to moderate YouTube from within Agorapulse. That's really handy too if you do a lot of videos, and you can oversee both paid and social media programs in the same place and at the same time. The team at Agorapulse is also super to work with. They're really responsive. They're a great group. It's high powered, yet it's also affordable, and that's a combination I can get behind. If you haven't used Agorapulse yet, check it out.
So Bretta, one thing you mentioned a moment ago was that your own social channels are suffering because you're spending so much time working on other people's, which I completely understand. I've been there, I'm there. But that also means I think it's harder for people like you and I to really keep up with the channels by using the channels. That's often a piece of advice folks give. If you want to learn something, just go do it. If you want to learn Twitter or X, just spend a lot of time there. And if you're doing it on behalf of clients, it feels different. So how do you keep up? How do you learn or monitor what's changing? How do you adapt to everything that's changing with marketing and the landscape of marketing today?
Well, I think, I end up going to listening to podcasts like we're on right now that talk about different marketing aspects. So I have a whole list of people that I'll listen to, And a lot of times, you end up researching things that you run into when you're either having an issue, like, okay, I want to work on this new aspect of the business. And so then I'll deep dive into a lot of researching and watching YouTube videos. And that is the great thing about today is that it's not as though you need to go to the library and check out a book. Though I encourage people to still do that because I am a big reader of books, physical books still. But we have so much information at our fingertips and to be able to take the time and start researching, start Googling it. Now we have AI as well. You can put in there to help you come up with some decisions on, where to move in the industry. And it's a fascinating time right now with AI. I'm sure you have some opinions as well as other people in the marketing industry regarding AI. So that's what I end up doing and have found people that I end up following on all of the different social media channels, including when you go through and scroll through Instagram and you're like, "Oh, that's a really good idea. This is how this person is being successful." And then you see some more of that in your own feed when you have a few moments to check it out.
Well, I definitely have opinions about AI. I have a whole podcast all about
Mhm.
AI, but I love your point. It's a fantastic tool for coming up with a study plan, a research guide. I mean, the AI systems today, Perplexity, Gemini, ChatGPT, you can ask them, I want to know about this topic or that topic. What are trusted resources I can go to? Or you can even use the deep research tools to create a research project for yourself and summarize 100 websites in 10 minutes. So that's fantastic. But I'm reminded because a lot of folks right now are going into or coming out of or about to do career change. I'm reminded of the axiom where it says everyone's either going into a storm, they're in a storm, or they're coming out of a storm. So I think a lot of folks today, might be thinking about career change. Some of the people listening may have just gone through a career change and they're still maybe struggling with that. What advice would you give them, whether they're in it right now or they're maybe contemplating it in the short term?
I would say if it's something that you're passionate about, to really go for it and just dive in head first. And I think all entrepreneurs, especially if you're starting your own business, but maybe you're shifting careers, but there's always that excitement and that fear and that you're always going to be learning when you make that shift. You get that opportunity to learn this whole new area of being. And I feel like a lot of us, if you ask a lot of people, I know I talked to my team the other day, I feel like they have imposter syndrome. And it's like, I think we all have a little bit of that. And just to do your best to get over that and think about, okay, what are the small steps that I can make today or tomorrow that are going to move me closer to my goal, and put it down into a little bit more incremental steps and short aim and goals that you can have towards that career change, whether that's, hey, I'm going to fill out resumes, or I'm going to look into, the Secretary of State. What is it going to take for me just to say, oh, look, I have a business. Oh, I got a domain name. So making those small little improvements each day.
Makes a lot of sense. What are some myths then that folks might be kind of clinging to, or might be holding them back as they're thinking about these kinds of changes that you maybe like to dispel for them?
Well, I think there's always gonna be that period, especially if you're starting a new career, that you think, "Oh, I'm gonna have to start over maybe monetarily, or I'm gonna have to start at the bottom," and maybe start thinking about, "Okay, what are some of my skill sets that I have in this other area of a career that I can apply to this new career or this new business?" Because there may be a lot more things that you can take with you. And even if it's something, if you're a stay-at-home mom and then you're going to go start a career again, that you have skill sets that you're probably not even aware of. And so focusing on those things, okay, these are the things that I'm good at, these are the things that I've achieved. How can I make these happen in this other career path? And then it seems a little less scary.
I love that. I want to also go back to your earlier point about how you started doing in-person networking again once you moved, and I'm sure that probably was scary. That's definitely scary to introverts like myself, but, reassure us. What came out of that experience where you were all of a sudden now you're in Coeur d'Alene and you're attending networking events? How did that help you?
I think it helped a lot. So there, like I said, the bridge between doing the social media and things in person. So I've frequently had, people around town be like, "Oh, I saw your fake live," or "I've seen you on social media," and putting that connection together. So, and then just not being, I mean, most again, one of my best friends here in town, I walked up to her at a chamber meeting, the Coeur d'Alene Chamber, and was just like, "Hi, I'm Bretta. It's nice to meet you." It wasn't, I didn't have to come up with some special kind of question, just like, "Hey." And one of the things that I learned a long time ago doing training and just happened to talk to somebody else, but it's called FORM, which stands for family, occupation, recreation, and motivation. So those are questions that you can go back to like, "Hey, are you from," so they say family or from, like, "Are you from Coeur d'Alene? Do you have a family? What do you do for a living? What do you like to do for fun?" So those are all simple icebreaker questions that you can talk to people about. And then we all like to talk about ourselves, right? And so it's easy to answer those questions and be like, "No, I don't have kids, but I have 3 dogs," or, "I like to go skiing on the weekends." "Oh gosh, I love to ski too." And then suddenly you're in a conversation and it's not as fearful that you've made a friend already. So your aim is to get to know people, get to know a little bit about them, and the rest of it will, the business part will take care of itself down the road.
That's absolutely right. Get them talking about themselves, and they will feel like you were an amazing listener, and that's terrific. That's terrific advice with the framework as well. Can you share any other tools or resources that you think have just been absolutely critical to your entrepreneurial journey?
I am an avid reader, so I mean, I have some of the books that are right behind me. I'm always reading. And, the ones that was really pivotal that's back here right behind me for taking our business to the next level was the book Traction, which is the entrepreneur operating system. I've read a few books by Mike McCowitz. He's really good. That's Clockwork and Profits First. And so, but I really like Traction in terms of the business. I have a business coach, so I've gone, off and on where I've had a formal business coach or maybe an informal, and just continuing to learn and grow every single day. And I can't remember the name of it, which I'm reading one that's like about kindness for profit. We're talking about how, you know, acting more kindly and being grateful and thankful, how that can impact your business. So I'm always gathering, new ideas and reading new books and meeting new people that can provide insights into whether that's into life or business. And my other favorite book, which I will mention of late, is Never Split the Difference. I don't know if you've read that book or heard much about it. So he was actually an FBI negotiator. And there's a lot of really helpful tools in terms of just communicating with people in a little bit of a different way that I found to be very helpful.
Chris Voss, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's terrific. I haven't read his book. I watched his masterclass, and it was profound. It was really fantastic. And Bretta, you've been absolutely insightful. I hope that folks listening, perhaps who are going through or about to go through some situations like this, are feeling a little bit more reassured. But if they've got more questions for you or they want to reach out, where should they go to connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, so frontroi.com. My email, feel free to reach out to me, personally, which is bprovost@frontroi.com. And of course, you can find me on social media. So Bretta Provost. My personal one, I have a crown on top of my head, which is I found my way, which came about for that's another story for a different day. But found my way to pageants, over the age of 40 and have had a blast doing that. So currently in the Continental Worldwide pageant as Miss representing women over 40 as Miss Pacific Northwest. So having a lot of fun doing that. And that came about through connections on social media.
Amazing. We will have all the links to Bretta and all of her resources down below. We'll even probably try to find some of her pageant material and put that in the links for the show notes if you're really interested. But thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Bretta. This has been fantastic. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse podcast, B2B Edition, on Apple. Leave us a review. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know. Till next time. Thank you for joining another episode of Social Pulse Podcast, B2B Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, the leading social media management solution. Learn more at agorapulse.com. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and leave us a review. We value your feedback and look forward to bringing you more useful insights.